Hello and welcome to that beautiful part of the day. And today we are looking at the Kwesi Botchwey report, way forward for the NDC. So it came to pass every 4 years we have an election, and when we have an election, there are two major contenders, either the NDC or the MPP, and one would come out as a winner, maybe after staying in power for 8 years. But in 2016, it turns out that, after one term of President Mahama being in power, he lost power to the MPP. The margin was quite significant. So as any responsible organization, they retreat, recoup, go into their closet and find out what happened. And so they did that. And they found a very renowned member of their party, Dr. Kwesi Botchwey, to lead this campaign, going around country to ask their supporters what went wrong, what did we do wrong, or what did we not do. And they got all their feedback from their voters and their members as to what happened. They put it all together, and it's called the Kwesi Botchwey report, being kept in very, very close knit, not coming out, but there are snippets that are seeping out here and there. And during the show, I will drop a few to find out, because indeed, in any civilized society, you need a very strong opposition. Because if you don't, and you give the party in power that free hand, my God, it's a dictatorship in disguise. And so the NDC is a very, very relevant part of today's democracy, indeed Ghana's democracy. And their, well-being is the well-being of the country. So we're going to find out what indeed the committee found out and how they're going to go forward. And there's so many questions. Did they see it coming? They don't see it coming? Did they hear the public sentiments? All these things are going to be thrown up. And I have a very, very, guest who can speak to these issues in the studio, so you don't want to go away at all. My name is Nana Sakwa, the fourth chief of the famous Little Republic of Akwemu Edumasa. When I come back, talking to someone who's in the NDC who can tell us what happened and what's the way forward. Don't go. Thank you very much for staying. And with me in the studio is Kofi Adams, national organizer for the NDC. Me, who better do you talk to in times like these? And we have to find him. Ambantems are all first-time appearance get fine. And I've been trying to get him on the show for ages. And so he owes me, myself, and you, the viewers, a bottle of something. Kofi, you're welcome.
Well, thank you very much.
So you bet you Ambantemusa. Ambantemusa for my viewers and I for being the first time appearing. But thanks for honoring us.
I would have to carry you to the palace.
You see now. You see now. Kofi, let me start by asking a straightforward, what's in the report? What's the report saying?
The report, first of all, good evening to your viewers. The report is telling us that there were some things our rank and file saw or thought differently of what it was that we were doing. The report also assures us that once we take steps to deal with those things, come 2020, we are more than convinced that we will get back to our rightful place of implementing policy and bringing about development in this country. In other words, we're going to win the 2020 elections if we do the fundamental things that it has put out there.
Close the gap or win?
Win the elections.
Okay, we'll come back to the report, but events leading up to 2016 elections, I mean, the public sentiment, did you feel the public sentiment, or you were, because it looks as if you were dead set on a course and the sentiment of the public did not really matter. So yes, nobody says infrastructure is bad, but for one reason or the other, people thought, no, we needed jobs. You may argue, I mean, you need a route to get to your job. Why don't you let me do the route? But as a party in power, do you say, well, look, this is what the people want. Let me hold on and do what they're saying? I mean,
yeah, thank you, Nana. It's not like we were oblivious of the concerns of the rank and file. No, it's not like we're not listening. Indeed, we were listening, we're hearing, but like a mother in a kitchen trying to fix a meal, like a chief as you are, who cares about his people and know that I must lead them this way to bring about sustained development and well-being. You will still want to try to convince them. But the more sometimes you speak the truth and you have not just the people you are leading, but you have somebody else standing there who is seeking for the very same stool or the chair you were on, and telling them exactly what they are thinking, even though it's not possible to do so, it makes your work really very difficult. So it wasn't like we had a country where there was no elections. It wasn't like we had a situation where there's no opposition. It wasn't like we were in a situation to possibly have been able to maybe do much more than we have done. Like you said, people were asking for jobs, and that it wasn't just the road but the road construction itself is job. There are people who go to school to learn how to do construction. So when you engage in site construction, you are giving them jobs. When I build a school, I'm giving that person who attended a technical school or a tradesman who learned how to build, how to mold blocks, how to plaster, how to roof, how to wire, I'm giving that person a job. When I have finished, that person who went to school to learn how to teach, I am giving the person a job to go and teach in the school. That woman who learned catering and will have to cook for kids is getting a job. That other woman or man who wants to sell banana or granules or the rest at the school is getting a job. See, infrastructure development is also connected to job creation. But whether that explanation sat with the people is another thing, and that is what the report is telling us, that we need to look at this, we need to look at that.
The job bit, let me stick with the job bit and then move on. You see, maybe people were looking for something they could retire on, something they could get a pension or something on. Whereas with these jobs, as soon as the road is finished, you know, there are no more workers. The banana seller now, you know, is left to his fate and probably would have wanted some market or something. I don't know. I mean,
I agree with you, but I am yet to see an architect or a contractor who works on only one job to retirement. So it is the continuous infrastructural development that will give those category of persons jobs. And when they have finished, a teacher that is recruited to teach in a school, for example, will work to retirement. A nurse that is recruited to work in the hospital will work to retirement. A doctor, a radiographer, an X-ray person, the pharmacist, and all those persons who are recruited, even laborers, security persons who will be recruited to secure these facilities, will all work to retirement. So something must start somewhere.
Could that World Bank agreement also be, you know, a deadlock where, well, we have the hospitals, we have the facilities, but look, we are not able to expand until further notice. So here you are, like Moses, you can see Cana, but you literally, you just can't get in there.
That was, of course, there was that concern also that persons were raising, and genuinely so, that kind of using the word freeze in employment, kind of net employment. And I gave an example. If you took your facility here, if the capacity of multimedia is, say, 10, and you have 10 persons, you cannot continue picking because there are more persons being trained from GIJ. You can only pick if someone decides either to leave or you expand some way, somehow. The process of expansion takes quite some time. Today, some job opportunities have come up as a result of the decisions of the previous administration to open up one facility or the other. Ghana have just been celebrated in the ICT world for leading the way in Africa, because the previous administration took the necessary step to do so, is creating jobs for persons. Not too long ago, the Minister for Health was at reach to commission the Greater Accra Regional Hospital. It's going to create employment for many persons. I'm told even there has been fight over who becomes director and all that, because the facility has been put in place. So, yes, jobs, opportunities have been created as a result of the decision taken by the previous administration. Take, for example, I saw a video of some nursing students who had the audacity after the declaration of results to step on the portrait of our flag bearer. Why was this? Because they've been promised that they will be paid allowances much bigger than the abated ones that the previous administration was giving them. The teacher trainees were so happy that they will be paid. And indeed, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baumia told the students in January that, oh, government have restored those allowances, and by March, they will be enjoying. Nana, we are in June. If you know any nursing students who previously was not taking an allowance, call him or her and find out whether that has happened. Indeed, the bonded nurses, some of whom have not been employed before then, up to date, are still at home. And the health minister said, look, even my own niece hasn't been employed, so you can, just nearly saying that you can go to hell. So these are the realities that sometimes you confront us in government. But the difficulty was whether we were successful in carrying these persons along.
One other issue which was all over, where there were certain personalities and certain names surrounded, you know, who were close to the president.
Yeah.
And you see, politics is about perception.
Yeah.
So if people perceive something to be black, maybe you in the House know that this thing is pure white. But if you don't go back to let the people know that, listen, it's not as what you think, then it becomes a fact.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. You see, that's one big difficulty that when you are in public office, sometimes you face. Perception. When you are perceived in a certain way, it becomes even much more difficult to deal with perception than even reality. If we put a box of toffees somewhere and they always get missing, and we have about 3-4 people in the room, assuming that I am the one who has been picking the toffees and I'm accused and I want to stop it, I can easily stop and the toffees will be saved. If it so happens that I am the one that is suspected of picking the toffees, but I'm not the one, and rather another person, and every time it happens, I'm the one they perceive. Meanwhile, somebody else is picking it. No matter what I do, the toffees will continue to get missing, and I'll continue to suffer that perceptive thoughts of persons that I am the one responsible for that. It happens that way. But sometimes you, the one who are working with those persons, know them so well that what is being said about them out there is not truly who they are or what they are. But it is important to find a way of getting to the people again for them to understand. Let me just give you one example. I had this problem with a very good guy, one good guy of ours who was working so hard, and he kept lamenting about not picking calls and the rest. So one day I invited him to Accra just to be with me for a day for us to go around. So he sat in my car, we started from home, and he saw how the calls were coming whilst we were moving, and I'm able to pick some. You are speaking on one, the 2 other lines are ringing. At that material time, you can sometimes a media house will call you for an interview continuously for about 15, 20, 25 minutes. During that period, the other phones are ringing. If he was not by me, as the person calling, then when he was with me, he was in, the person would think that you just don't want to pick the calls. We get to the office, we are supposed to engage in a discussion. He opens his mouth to talk, a phone call will come through, I have to pick it. At the point this one is ending, he wants to talk again, another line is on and I have to pick it. That went on for almost about 3 hours without these gentlemen having the chance to speak to me for even continuously for 4 minutes. So we have to break for us to go and continue doing something. They say, oh no, we've not been able to have a chat. I say, you see why sometimes you may be calling and we are not able to pick. It's not like the person is intentionally refusing, but because there is another person sitting in front trying to engage you. Truly, this gentleman left and became an ambassador for senior members of the party, not being able to pick almost every call. That this is the reality, and he was able to explain to some of his comrades who bought into it.
Let me take a quick break here, and then when I come back, we'll look at, what's that's all mostly political parties. Why aren't they able to cut loose certain people who go by themselves, go and do a wrong? I may be a member of the party, but out of my own volition, if I go and do something which is bad, why do the party come and defend such a person? Why don't they just cut you loose, go and solve your problem and come? We're coming back. Well, thank you very much for staying. We're looking at the Kwesi Botchwey report, the way forward for the NDC. With me in the studio is Kofi Adams, national organizer for the NDC, and he's taking a lot on his shoulders because it was literally under his watch that the defeat came. So it's not easy to be in an executive position in the NDC right now, but a man is the one who swallows a bitter pill, and so he's playing his part as a man in the party. But Kofi, just before we went to the break, we're looking at perception and how people perceive certain personalities. It was very, very negative. I mean, we work in the newsroom, you listen to people, and there are certain names that just people just mention, this person, that person, this person. And they themselves, their rhetoric outside, sometimes their posture, the words they have said is not evil, not insult anybody, but just the posture and the tonation don't help. Why can't you say, look, Jack, at this rate, the party is bigger than any individual?
That's true. The party should always be bigger than individual, and that is how parties are supposed to operate. But also, the parties understand that it is human beings that make these political parties. And as human as we are, we will surely make mistakes along the line. And so if you decide that for every mistake, you are going to throw people away, then you will end up
not necessarily, but the persistent ones. Not every mistake, but the persistent ones.
Yeah, it depends on what you consider as
well. There are names that kept on.
There's a saying, for example, that, and you, the chiefs and elders, you told us this, that it is the one who goes to the riverside that will surely break the poles. So if you have some category of persons
who are always breaking the pot, then they have to stop going to the riverside.
Who regularly interface with the people, you expect from time to time for them to be the one to break the pot, because the one who don't go fetching water may not break the pot.
You see,
so you may not.
On the subject of interface,
I accept the fact that for every period you must review and see your strategy and see whether these are the people to put forward or to put them at the background for them to play other roles. And we have this in the NDC. And that is why we are doing all these reviews, to be able to, you may be very good at something, but for one reason or the other, you feel that it is better for you to play a different role. And anytime I sit with President Rawlings, and he takes me through some of those situations that he has had to deal with, even from the days of AFRC time, that short period, he dealt with such situation. He dealt with it even much more during the PNDC time, that some fine officers that he knows and understands, but the people perceive them in a certain way, and how he has to, the way he managed to use them through other processes, to be able to refine, to get the people to understand and appreciate them and welcome them and respected and even revered and feared them rather than hate them.
Kofi, before I move on, since I'm pointing fingers at everybody, let me give you your charge too. Now, yours was that you were overly critical of Nanado. So I hear, and there's jokes that you call, oh, Kofi, today I hear he's going to raid. Well, then it must be Nanado. He's going to cause the raid and cause the flood. Somehow you have to twist it and, land salvos at Nanado. And we thought that maybe it was a bit too much.
It can be too much. You see, you are running an election, you have candidates that keep marketing themselves, and they will be throwing their positives. your duty is to remind people that these are the negatives of the person.
They are no angels.
People, yes, of course, we are not. So, but we are electing a leader. And at the end of the day, if you have choices to make, and then you admit so that, yes, we are not angels, but you weigh and see which is better than the other. And we thought that we had a better candidate, much more prepared, ready.
The sentiment with you was that
Mm.
there were issues which really could have been explained without an Nanado factor, but somehow you coined an Nanado factor in there.
There were a lot of issues that we explained without having to put Nanado in. If we have to bring him in because he has said something that we thought was not truthful, we will bring him in, because don't forget that we were the party then in government. So his comments and criticism was towards us. So if he says something that we thought was not truthful, if he says something,
no, that's different. I'm saying
we will pick on, and because he is the face, and we have to deal with the face, and that is going to continue.
Do you think maybe you may have overstepped or overused or over-criticized?
I have not really come across anybody who said that he voted NDC in the past and didn't vote NDC again, or thought of voting NDC and didn't vote because the NDC was too critical of Nanado.
No. Well, I'm just pointing fingers at everybody's crime, and this is yours.
Most of the things that we spoke about today, whether he is the one directly doing them or not, some of them are happening. And so now people will begin to ask whether we were prophets and we were predicting. I don't know whether he will be able to overcome them later or not. I don't know. But if what is happening will continue, then it means that many of us were right then for those things that we spoke about.
That was your newsroom charge. You know, so I'm talking from there. So that was your newsroom charge. Oh, Kofi Adams, so that was your newsroom charge. The other one was Malik was having a conversation with Asiudin Ketia, was the General Secretary, and he said that one thing that the NDC lost focus on was that it was very in touch with the grassroots. Yeah. This is the same party that expanded the economy. Yeah. So those in the grassroots gradually have set up their stores, they've come up
to the middle class.
To the middle class, they moved from, into the urban areas, and you probably missed that opportunity to follow them, and they were not able to, identify. I mean, do you agree with that analysis?
Not just that they have moved to urban areas, but if you look at this country's development, the NDC has contributed significantly to moving areas that otherwise were considered as low-grade areas or slum areas to urban areas. A lot of new middle-class areas that have been created happened under the NDC regime. But the concerns have been that when these people who were previously at the base level appreciate to the next level, then it looks like our programming don't keep them in touch. So now they begin to think that, oh, if I associate with somebody else or this other group, it looks like I will hit the next level instead of associating with those who have worked to bring me to the level where I am today. It's like that mother or grandmother who are taking care of you and you have completed university, all of a sudden now you say it's a witch. It's a witch, and therefore you need to associate with somebody else in order to be able to reach the next level. Meanwhile, you would rather have to check certain things that you are doing. So we are looking at, and it's part of our programming to see how to break this disconnect and make sure that we reconnect for them to see that we mean well for them, and that you can associate with NDC and go all the way to the first class level. And we are not anti-business. The NDC is never anti-business. Indeed, the NDC is pro-business. Today, those who tell you that they are pro-business have now established, there's a ministry that is taking over the jobs that private person could have been doing, travel and tour business, where they used to do even tourism, getting people together to travel to Israel on pilgrimage and the rest. Today, a whole ministry is taking over that responsibility.
See, but politics is perception, and the businessman today perceives that, listen, my business is fine with this relationship, and maybe that's the communication.
Tomorrow, I'm sure if we are talking today, that may not be the case again. Because look, that importer of vehicles who was promised that we were going to make sure that you pay less at the port, today is paying more than he was paying under President Mahama. Maybe that travel and tour person who was at least making some little money out of promoting tourism. Now that is being taken away from him or her to be run by a ministry whose duty has nothing to do with doing such things. So we'll begin to see whether they are truly pro-business or anti-business.
We'll get to analyzing the current government, but today we're just looking at the faults. What happened? Now, you see, crowding out academia has come up, that somehow, you know, the culture crowded out academia. Those who were in the forefront leading the charge, i.e. the communicators on your behalf, were not upping their game. I don't know if it was they were choosing an audience and speaking to a particular audience, and like you say, forgetting. But you know, one of the reports, some of the charges for the report, they said, look, they crowded out the academia. So the big-time lawyers, even who are already NDC, just wanted to stay at the back.
It didn't say that we crowded the academia out. What the recommendation is to improve on the capacity of the research and intelligence gathering. And to do this also, we should crowd in the intellectual base of the party. Truly, sometimes it's quite difficult to do this once in government, because a lot of your persons will be playing many other roles. So it's quite difficult bringing them to the party level sometimes to play some role. I can tell you, some of the senior persons we got together to work on the report you described as Kwesi Botchwey report today, we would not have gotten them in there to spend such a long time going around doing such a thing if we were in government. For example, we had the privilege of having our Right Honorable Speaker, Dodo Ajahu, to be part of this work. We would otherwise not have had him to be available for such a long time. Even Professor Botchwey himself, who chaired the committee, was actively and so much involved in governance business at one time as either board chairman or economic management team and then other things that you may not be available for such other. But today, we have a lot of them available that we can bring them in to look into various areas and be able to advise appropriately the research information that the party will feed into its communication. So it is not the case that even today, if we will have to communicate, the fact that you are academic and then you are part of those gathering the information, you will be the same person that will have to get out there to communicate. There are some persons who are good at using the information that have been collected to communicate to the masses. And we will continue to train persons on messaging, on the messenger also. We'll look at the messenger and of course look at, but we did quite okay in the course, but just that we did not smile at the end of the campaign.
We'll take another break, and then when we come back, we'll look at the Rawlings factor, and then we'll also look at snippets of what's popping out of what the report is saying. Don't move. Well, thank you very much. Let me give you a little gossip, little snippets. Page 105 of the KB report. The main heading is avoidable mistakes. The third paragraph had the subheading, the Lordina factor. With some few months into the election, the spirit of and determination of the rank and file of the party to see Mahama government retain power was already down by the decision of some few people managing the campaign to sideline the party structures for splinter groups. The straw that broke the camel's back was the elevation of the former First Lady, Mrs. Lordina Mahama, above everyone else in the party. In short, she was the de facto vice president and only answerable to her husband. The flaunting of her newfound wealth in the faces of Ghanaians in the name of donation angered many and fed into the allegation that the NDC was corrupt and a government of family and friends. The people of Central Region were not happy with the treatment meted out to their son, Kwesi Botchwey, and was evident in the vote the party got from the region. Page 63. You
want to read, or let me tell you, Nana, that I have looked at the document up till about 200 and something page, because some of it is just data. The whole of page 100 to 110 has nothing to do with Lordina. There's no name Lordina even in this page ranges that
So
have
far,
just
so far in the 200, you haven't read anything.
I'm telling you that from 100
Okay, but this
to 110,
10,
there is no name Lordina in there.
In there. Okay, let's try.
Whether that Lordina is in reference to the former first lady or is in reference to any other person called Lordina. There is no such name Lordina. Okay, so it's a fake. It's a fake quote.
Okay, check page 63. Those who were lead debaters for the NDC in the media space lacked the intellectual depth on economics, public policy, and governance issues. They failed woefully to counter the superior argument put forward by the MPP on the economy, social policy proposals, and the corruption under the Mahama regime. It was surprising that the whole government and party machinery were disabled by the strong arguments of the then running mate of the MPP. The failure by the NDC candidate, his running mate, the leadership of the party and the majority at the time to strongly challenge the views of Dr. Bawumia did grave harm to the image of the NDC and contributed hugely to our defeat.
Nana, predictably so, another fake news. There's nothing like that also and we knew that it was going to happen. You know, even before our report came out, some people said they had our report, which was 67 pages.
But
yesterday we disappointed them when the report came out to be 455 pages. So it should tell you that they were lying. Then too,
if this Lordina issue is not in the report, it will be very surprising because this sentiment.
I have just told you I haven't gone through the entire document, but I have gone beyond the 200 pages, and I'm telling you that at least you mentioned page 105, and I'm saying from page 100 to 110.
How about page 63 complaining about
that's why I'm saying that the 63 is also another fake news.
Complaining about the communicators.
I'm telling you that today the functional executive committee of the party had time to go through the report, and we had these issues even to raise with some persons on the committee about some of these things that were already out there, just in case maybe it is in, but our reading hasn't taken us to that point.
So maybe it's on page 300.
No, there's nothing like that. Is this a creation from the fake news factory? Okay, fake news factory.
Assuming it's not in the report, I am saying that these are some of the sentiments. I mean, you tune into radio stations and your own members call and express these frustrations.
I agree that, yes, of course, even up to date, sometimes you may have somebody on a show and you will get your members indicating that, oh, today this person is not doing justice to the topic that is in display for discussion. That's true, because sometimes somebody wakes up even without reading on the subject the person wants to comment. Or you go for a program and then from archaeology to zoology, the person wants to speak to. And it is made worse when you have an ignorant host. Because some hosts, they are not like the way some of you who have much information and you can ask the right questions to get to tease out the information that you want. They just display their ignorance, they open up and they go off and they call it Bieja.
You don't want to be a judge. We don't want to be. We don't want to be a judge here. But I mean, if they address if this Kwesi Botchwey report does not comment or pick these things out, you would have done a very great disservice to your members.
It would have been disservice if to the members, a fact. For example, in politics.
No, even if it's a lie, the report should come out and say, listen, this was a lie.
The one thing you mean, but if it's not in their report, why should they now come out to say that it's a lie? What they did was a listening to the grassroots. It's not that everything that they said there that is true. And I was giving an example today that you walk out on the street, then you touch somebody and the person shouts that because you touch him, his genitals have shrunk. Then they come and lynch that person like it happened some time ago. They beat up the person. The truth is that beating have taken place. The truth is also that there was a touch. There may be a possibility that the guy's genital has shrunk for other reasons. So the mere fact that his genital shrunk, the mere fact that there was a touch, does not mean that it is because of that touch that resulted in that. But they have acted in a way against the person whose body touched that person.
Was the first lady a bit too influential?
I don't think
or
so.
Or unnecessarily influential?
I don't think so.
It is said that in Bronga Hafu, there were billboards of her.
You see, that was what I was coming to. In politics, you put whoever you think is most accepted in an area, you send a person. That's why you strategize in terms of campaign teams, campaign committees, units, sub-units for various places. It may be that if Nana goes somewhere, it will give us votes. If we put Nana's face there, that Nana is with us, it's more like we call it endorsement. It will give us votes. So it doesn't matter. Nana may not be the candidate, but per the strategy, you can put Nana also there for the people there to know that this is our daughter, so that they can come along. So political strategy and campaigning is not wrong at all. It is when you decide to put the person everywhere, including where even the person is the most hated, then that is where it becomes a negative. So political strategy is right. Just that you must not overdo it. You must know where to put it, where the person can go, where the person cannot go. There are instances, there are some of us, you may even be a national officer, but there may be some area that if you are the one who appeared there, it could be negative. So the research must be able to tell us that, look, this person must not go here, that person must not go there. When you are going here, go with this message. Don't go with this person. When you go, don't even, in your speech, don't mention this person's name, because when you mention the name, the people will be angry. These are things that research does and feed to the campaign. Then you are able to apply.
Let me take a nice break, and then when we come back, we'll look at the Rawlings factor. What's happening between Rawlings and the NDC? Don't move. Thank you very much for staying. It's been very interesting, very exciting. We're looking at the Kwesi Botchwey report, the defeat on the NDC, and the way forward. 2 days' time, I've just been told that, Jerry John Rawlings, Mr. Jerry John Rawlings, ex-president, is going to be 70 years. Could you believe it? 70 years. I remember 79 when I don't even know who played that song. I can remember 70 years. But it's not in good sitting with the NDC, and there are so many elements. And I think for, want of a better word, is actually closer to Nana Addo than he is to, Mr. Mahama, to the point that even Nana Addo's acceptance speech while he was thanking Otabil and thanking anybody, he had to thank, Jerry John Rawlings. And, coincidentally, when the NDC were conceding and also thanking their people, just brushed over it. I mean, how are we going to, we're not going to pretend, so how are we going to heal this wound?
First and foremost, let me say that President Nana Addo thanked a lot of persons. So I don't know whether he's thanking President Rawlings was because...
Well, he said he gave him advice, he consults him for advice.
Oh, he's an elder statesman, and so I don't know what form of advice that he's talking about. But President Rawlings remains the founding father of NDC, and he may have some issues that he feels the party could do better on. Some of it may be right, some of it may be wrong. But President Rawlings remains a huge tower and a fountain of knowledge when it comes to politics in this country. And as a party, we must recognize that and work.
But there are snippets of this same party which he gave birth to that sometimes fire unnecessary salvos.
Because many of them either don't understand where we have come from and don't realize that sometimes you need to go back and ask yourself what exactly he's saying. I have been lucky to have worked so closely with him in a period that I must say that the pressure of governance was not on him, and so you tend to learn and hear a lot. So I've been privileged to have even a better and a deeper understanding of him than possibly what many persons will do. This is someone who would stand by you and for you any day, anytime, insofar as you are not offending the truth. Speak it, no matter how painful it is, if even it goes against him. So working with President Rawlings is one of the easiest things to do. You don't have to, oh, should I say this or I shouldn't say it?
Why the departure?
It's not about the departure. I think it's about the behavior of some of the persons who really didn't understand. And thank God, I must say that we've been working on, and things are getting better, and we will get there. Like he rightly put it, we go to the reconciliation table with genuineness, not reconciling, shaking with one hand, and then you have another hiding behind with ready to stab kind of. If we are putting guns down, let's all put our guns down and come around the table and know that we have
the party general secretary has fired a couple of salvos.
I think that all that we have to put them behind us, where apologies have to be rendered. Like he said, look, he is not opposed to the NDC at all. He feels that we must work as a team, and whatever we work for, whatever comes around, must be shared accordingly.
Would you try and bring Nana Kunodu on board too?
Of course, we welcome everybody on board.
Forget about welcome. Would you approach? Would you try and get her back?
We have to take first steps first. She has formed a party now. She has a party. So the first thing is to make sure that we put our home in order. The Professor Botchwey committee has recommended a healing tour, reaching out to people. So let's first reach out to those who are within and have issues first. Let's deal with that. When we have finished dealing with that, then we can now begin to look at our sister parties that have the same ideological leaning to see whether we cannot bring ourselves together and have a common cause, because now we have a common opponent. We have if we can put it, enemy in quote of the state that we must all work to remove. And so it is for the good of this country that all such groups come together and support the cause that we stand for, so we will get back to the rightful place and govern this country. So we are going to work on all those. But first and foremost, we will deal with these one. And of course, our founder will be a key component of this process. And I believe that those who have had verbal diarrhea and going on all kinds of attacks and talking anyhow, such persons would have to be advised to cease, or would not have to speak on behalf of the party if that is the way we are going to go. We are not going to tolerate such things again. Today, I, for example, have received all kinds of attacks and insults from various persons, but because I know that sometimes when some people are behaving, you must let the world know the difference between a wise and reasonable person and a fool. So I will not respond to some persons. I will leave it at that for the people to judge.
Thank you very, very much, Kofi Adams, National Organizer for the NDC. It's been an interesting chat. He should have come long ago. So what I'll do now is I'll get him here, because this is definitely going to be a part 2, because I'm sure further snippets will come. And we'll get him in here so we'll talk about it.
We'll be having the next meeting tomorrow. Maybe after the next meeting, later next week, we can have some more detailed discussion.
I look forward to that. I'm sure you do too. Kofi, thank you so much.
Thank you, Nana.
And then to you at home, Thursday, we're back here to do this all over again. But Friday, we have George Yao Owusu of the EO Group, who had the 3.5% in the Jubilee Fields, tell his story after 10 years. You don't want to miss that. Thank you very much.